It's 2026 and TNA Wrestling finds itself in a hell of a position. Pay-per-view crowds are growing again, buzz is building, and now, with the new TV deal on the horizon, a lot of fans are arguing that TNA is poised to be wrestling's #2 in the US right now under the nose of Triple H. But is the AMC deal really the moment that could elevate TNA to second best beyond AEW, or will the company's internal issues boil over? Yeah, there's problems. To answer that, we really need a full picture. Where TNA came from, how its television and media evolution shaped its rise and many falls along the way, and what this new deal with AMC really means for the company's future, its roster, and its standing in the wrestling world. Before we get going though, I'd love to know your favorite era of TNA. Put it down in the comments. Mine's 2006 to 2009. Expected answer. Now, TNA has been ping-ponged into so many time slots and cable channels that it's almost hard to keep up with. I'm gonna do it anyways. TNA Impact first aired on June 4th, 2004 on cable outlet Fox Sports Net, or FSN, broadcasting from the beloved Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. This was coming after it was branded as NWA TNA when it first became a thing in 2002 in Nashville, Tennessee. But until the FSN deal, TNA had an interesting weekly pay-per-view model, so the Friday night slot on cable was a definite upgrade. The initial exposure was a major step up for the then new promotion, but the partnership with FSN ended early. By May 2005, the contract ended almost a year after it was signed, and TNA lost its spot. And without a stable TV platform, the company struggled. Zooming out a little bit, unfortunately, not many TV companies wanted pro wrestling at the time in the post-WCW era, and TNA was getting pushed out of a heavily WWE monopolized space. In October 2005, though, TNA scored a breakthrough deal with Spike TV. We all know it, we all love it, which much later would shut its doors and rebrand as Paramount Network, taking Mansers with it. Rest in peace. That national exposure at the time, though, catapulted them into some mainstream visibility that they just didn't have before. Hell, even I discovered TNA late night on Spike when I was surfing channels. Over time, Impact expanded, experimented with time slots, and grew its roster, mixing homegrown talent with returning veterans like Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, and Booker T, Shucky Ducky, Quack Quack. Despite this promising era through the 2000s, TNA's momentum didn't really sustain after that. Although they notably had their biggest show ever on January 4th, 2010 with the debut of Hulk Hogan and over 2 million homes tuning in to see it, that was a viewership peak that the company would never see again. And as we all remember, they did attempt to go head-to-head with Raw on Mondays, which of course didn't work, and after the shift back to Thursdays and a few other blips in 2011, it was a rating slide for about 3 years, give or take a few shows. Then TNA Impact got the shaft from Spike TV in 2014 and moved on to Destination America in 2015. Their television home shifted multiple times after the glory days on Spike. The show moved to networks like, as I said, Destination America, Pop TV, Access TV, and other quite inaccessible channels with varying success and reach. Through all of these shifts, TNA never regained the broad base they once had during the Spike years, unfortunately. Their identity for a time was also fragmented when they shifted from TNA to Impact Wrestling as a company. And until now, a large-scale media reset remained next to impossible for the brand. It really wasn't until the company shifted its branding back to TNA at Hard to Kill 2024 that things started picking back up for the company. Well, after Scott D'Amore was fired, so a little bump in the road there, but other than that, things were better. But everything changed again in December 2025. AMC Networks and TNA president Carlos Silva announced a multi-year agreement to bring TNA's weekly Impact show back to a major cable network beginning January 15th, 2026. The show is going to air on Thursdays between 9 and 11 p.m. Eastern Time on AMC and is going to be streamable on AMC Plus, which is a big win. Not saying that a TV deal is the only thing a wrestling company needs to be successful in the US because, you know, streaming is a big thing now and other routes, YouTube, but it is a really good marker of a wrestling company having arrived. And this matters for a few big reasons. AMC at its peak reached around 60 million US households, which is a reach comparable to major sports and entertainment networks in the US. That's a dramatic increase for TNA and gives them the potential to reach viewers who have maybe either forgotten or never even knew about TNA Impact. Moreover, the deal arrives at a time when there's real traction behind TNA again. Their recent audience records, including a new record set with over 7,000 fans at Bound for Glory 2025, suggests that interest among dedicated fans is rebuilding for the TNA product. Also, it does help that they're a more affordable alternative to WWE, at least in ticket prices. If AMC plays it right with a consistent time slot, effective promotion, and meaningful content, this could be the first real shot in over a decade to rebuild TNA's national presence. And it also provides a big opportunity for failure. TNA's momentum heading into 2026 is definitely helped by strategic partnerships and renewed ambition. In 2025, the company formalized a cross-promotional agreement with WWE, and more specifically, NXT, and that allowed many talent exchanges and lots of title hot potatoes. That collaboration briefly raised TNA's profile and hinted at these current elevated possibilities just in time for these AMC negotiations in 2025. As I hinted at, TNA may have lost some of its titles to NXT during 2025, but it seems like it gained exposure for a few periods of NXT dominance. And internationally, TNA is expanding its footprint too. A new agreement is going to get going in early 2026 with a Latin American broadcaster, Claro Sports, which opens up access to markets from Mexico all the way to Argentina in South America. Not to be that guy, but success isn't guaranteed, and there's a lot that has to be done before TNA can heavily compete with AEW. And this comeback plan has a couple cracks beneath the surface. For one, talent retention. Some reports indicate that several TNA performers are currently working without contracts, while some of the company's bigger recent draws, like Joe Hendry, have already left for WWE, with more potentially on the way. If AMC comes to give them visibility, but TNA loses their key talent, it could stall out pretty quickly. Talent stability really matters at this time. Without a strong roster, even a national TV slot can only do so much, and the accusation that TNA is becoming a WWE farm league is kind of hard to deny right now. Another challenge here is competition. AEW continues to attract talent, attention, and a rabid fan base. For TNA to claim number 2, cable exposure is a great start, but they'll really need consistent quality, creative vision, and the ability to keep fans invested long-term, week after week. So, can TNA ascend to that number 2 slot behind WWE? Maybe. I've been a TNA fan for a long-ass time, and I'm impressed at their continued survival, but time will tell if they can cast a wide net for new viewers and keep growing their talent base, two of the most important things that they have to work on. I mean, the ingredients are all there, chef. A major cable deal with AMC, renewed fan interest, expanding international distribution, and a re-energized brand identity. If they deliver smart creative work, commit to building new stars instead of relying on past names, and use their media reach to connect with a widely dispersed audience, TNA could legitimately challenge AEW and other promotions for a second place spot in the US wrestling hierarchy. Still, it's a steep climb. AEW's pay-per-views do extremely well, and their weekly TV attendance is not too bad either. TNA is going to have to match and exceed those attendance numbers at that scale for every pay-per-view and every weekly television slot, and that's going to take some time, in my opinion. To really succeed, TNA has to treat 2026 as a foundation-laying year. They got to rebuild depth in their rosters, secure long-term contracts, produce quality storylines, and consistently deliver a product that justifies its national cable exposure, and get those ratings. It can't hurt. And yes, even though streaming is where it's at right now, the cable deal still matters at this time. The AMC deal presents a platform. Whether they turn it into another golden age depends on decisions they make now on talent, booking, and vision for the next few years. So 2026 could mark a renaissance for TNA as a serious contender in American wrestling, or it could become yet another chapter in a history of near misses and potential unfulfilled. Now, I love TNA. I love more wrestling on television. The television deal gives me tons of hope, but hope isn't enough to build a company. Now, what do you think about TNA's trajectory? Do you think they can build up? Do you think they could be number 2? Do you think they're already number 2, maybe? Let me know in the comments. Nonetheless, till January 15th, till this debut, maybe they get AJ Styles? Hope you had fun. Hope you learned something today, and I'll see you next.
Oooo Chavo!